Hey YouTube, Incendar here with a video on getting Crossfire to work in Black Desert Online. A couple people have told me, they could never get this to work or they didn't know it works, but it does work and you can get pretty good frames, double what you're normally getting if you get it to work, well, ideally. A few things I'm going to be using today. You can see in the top right, this can only be done in full screen mode. You'll see the AMD Crossfire logo at the top right. And I'm using MSI Afterburner and Riva Tuner here for the on-screen display, showing me my frames, how fast the GPUs and CPUs are running, some other stuff. This is really helpful, so I'll start with that. I'm going to have to drop to full screen windowed to actually do overlays here. Okay, so the first settings, if you have the Crossfire wire already hooked up and whatnot, this will be the global settings in your AMD profile. You can pause this now and just compare to what you have or change it. This is what I use and it works great. For specifically Black Desert 64, and you want to make sure that that's the actual program it's using, you can pause again to see the settings I have for AMD here. For any of the applications that you might need, I'll put links in the description so you can find those pretty quick. The first one is MSI Afterburner, free download. You'll notice here I use power limited at 20, and I'll just briefly go into that. Once you get Crossfire working and you see your logo, you might notice these clocks. You can see that right now I'm only using the first GPU, and the clock's staying steady at 950. One of the main issues here, if you see this clock jumping up and down, it's probably because your GPU isn't getting enough power. So in MSI, you might have to, the second one here, power limit, you might have to raise that. Another problem is your computer might be stuck in power saving mode, and there's another program called ClockBlocker that'll actually force your clock to stay maximum. This uses more electricity and your system will get a lot hotter, but it will fix drops in your clock rates. And I'll also put a link to that below. After you install Afterburner, it actually comes with this Riva tuner, so make sure just to, this installs by default, so just make sure this goes with it. These are the settings I'm using right now for the on-screen. You'll really want this on-screen stuff so you can actually make sure your Crossfire is working. I'm using one video card right now, and I can easily tell I'm getting 30 frames right now. If I run two, I easily get 60. With this recording software, I'm actually using the video card to encode it, so it takes about 10 frames off. There's another issue you might notice after you get working with Crossfire. These will be steady, everything will be great, and your frame rate will lock at 30. That's actually a Black Desert bug. It didn't affect me before, but if it does affect people, there is a program, and I won't get too into details here. If you have problems, obviously leave a comment, and I'll put a link to this program too. Custom resolution utility, it's called. And up here in the top box, you can see I'm forcing this to run at 60 frames. Black Desert might force you to run at 30, so if you notice Crossfire is working, both cards are working, and you're only at 30 frames exactly, you might have to use this utility. Another thing to know, this game is insanely tough on the CPU. It's just poorly optimized. So when you're out of the city, obviously I'm using one graphics card right now, so I'm only getting 30 frames. You should get 60 frames everywhere out of the city as long as you have a mid-range or two mid-range graphics cards to Crossfire. But you'll quickly notice when you're going into cities, your frame rate's going to drop. Cities are notoriously CPU hungry. You can see my frame rate already dropped 10 or 15 just by coming into Heidel here. And that's actually an issue with the CPU. I'm going to do a different video, I think, on how to overclock that. If you have an AMD CPU, it's really easy. I might even try to find a link for a good way just for you to quickly overclock. When I overclock the 8370 I have now from 4000 to 4500, frame rate went up 15 frames per second with Crossfire, so that helps a lot. As far as Black Desert settings, I'm currently running everything maxed except for high-end mode and improved distance. I can still get 60 frames with two 7950s outside of cities with everything set. And then, of course, lag down to about 20 to 30 in hideout with everything set. I can take some of the stuff off for higher frames, you know, maybe 30 to 40 steady in the cities. So hopefully this video will help you get Crossfire working. It does work. It works great. Black Desert's a little picky. It's poorly optimized for CPU, and I'll do another video on that, how to improve that, and that should work for everybody. So subscribe, and you'll get a notification every time I put a new video out. And thanks a lot for watching. And if you have any problems or questions, check the comments, and all links to whatever programs I'm using I will put in the description. All right, thanks a lot.